Welcome back to Musical Connections. This is Next to Connect. I'm Zach Snow. Joining me right now is one of the faces of the heavy metal scene here in Newfoundland and Labrador. With their group, Order of the Precious Blood, they put out their first album, I No Longer Wish for Salvation, last June, and they were set to put out their second EP, set to come out later this year. And joining me right now is the frontman behind all of it. I call him pretty much a maniac when he's on stage, but I'll take that in the nicest way possible because he is electrifying to watch. The lead singer of Order of the Precious Blood joins me now, the one and the only Paul Brake. Paul, welcome to Musical Connections, buddy.
Thank you. That was quite the introduction.
Listen, man, you deserve it. I've seen you a couple of times now, and just watching you play live and having the crowd in the palm of your hands while they're mosh pitting right in front of you, it's something special to see.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's just about having fun. It's about just stirring up the people and getting them excited and playing music that gets them excited and trying to connect with them. You know what I mean? That's what I try to do. Is I try to break down that wall between the stage and the audience and really get in their eyes. You know.
And your eyes speak words that no one else could speak. I don't know if that's a phrase, but I'm at a loss for words sometimes when you look at your eyes and you're just like this, but you really tell, you put your heart and soul into what you do, and it really shows on stage.
Well, yeah, I mean it's part of the performance, I'm trying to embody the whole performance, it just makes more sense for me. It makes me get lost in the moment a little bit more. It's more fun that way as well.
Absolutely. We'll get to more of the Precious Blood later on. But how are things for you right now when it comes to life, your careers and stuff? Precious Blood. How are things now?
Things are good. Things are a little pretty busy for me these days. I'm pretty flat out. We're gearing up for a tour right now. We're leaving for a little tour in a couple weeks. So we're just kind of busy preparing all those little details for when we hit the road. Because when you hit the road, you got to have kind of everything prepared and to go at a moment's notice. You know what I mean? So it's every time you go, it's a little bit of a learning experience as well. We're just busy kind of preparing for that. We've been writing a lot as well. So, we're trying to interject a lot of that. But lately, it's just kind of getting really geared up for the tour, because that's really coming on next week is our first two shows, April 19th and the 20th. Last time we played was November, so it's been a few months for us. So we're excited to get back.
Oh, for sure. By the time that this will drop, you probably would have already done those shows. But one of those stops on the way there, by the time that this will drop, will be in Charlottetown for the East Coast Music Awards. You're going to be showcasing there for the first time as Precious Blood. Yes,
absolutely. And that's super exciting. We've only been a band for a little bit over a year. I guess we started our first show was November 2022. So, close to about a year and a half sort of thing. And it's super exciting for a band like us, especially playing the music we do, to be asked to come to, these sort of prestigious events and showcase ourselves and showcase our music and to perform the way we do for these people. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be really fun, and for all these different audiences and for people that may not have normally came and seen us. So it's gonna be really fun, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I want to go back to when you first started out in music, because you grew up in Rocky Harbor on the West Coast, playing music. So, what drove you to playing music in the first place?
I'm kind of someone who's resistant to things that people try to give me at first. So, knowing that, I grew up in a household where my dad played guitar and he was really into music as well. So music was kind of always hanging around me, and in a loose way kind of being pushed on me in a way, because people wanted me to play guitar like Dad did, right? You know what I mean? And originally I was like, no, that's not who I am. The kind of thing that when you grow up, you're kind of like, you don't want to be exactly like your parents. You know what I mean? But then as I grew older, the music sort of became way more important to me, and I started to dig deeper into it. And I remember there was a moment when I was growing up when I was watching Much Music, and the music video for Pardon Me by Incubus came on. I don't know what it was about that video in particular, but I thought the guitar player was so cool. I thought that was the coolest thing. And at that moment, something just clicked, and I was like, "Oh, now I want to learn how to play guitar." So, like a little while after that, I'd asked Dad to sort of teach me some chords on like this, old rudimentary children's guitar that I'd had when I was really, really young, and that was, that sort of started it off a little bit, but then as I got a little bit more into music itself, I wanted to get a guitar of my own. And once I got, my own little starter electric guitar, that was it. You know what I mean? It was really the catalyst that drove me forward to accelerate my learning how to play guitar, to dive deeper into music, and at that point, music became pretty much the most important thing to me. And then I played guitar for ages, just by myself as a kid, as you do. Learning other people's songs, and that's when I started writing my own stuff too. You know what I mean? Writing my own little riffs and writing my own songs, and it got to the point where it was sort of a little bit of a known thing in school that, like, oh, Paul, he plays guitar at home, sort of thing, that sort of deal, and it sort of moved in a way where with these other guys that were also at my school, we started to kind of get a little more closer to me, sort of deal. And we ended up kind of getting together to play guitars a little bit, and that's kind of where it started for me to play music with people. And one of those people was Dave Shears, and that led to me and him starting our first band when we were really young. It didn't really last very long, but we kept that musical relationship and best friend relationship as we're older now, and he's one of my closest friends.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Back then and even till now, when Dave is doing an amazing job with Hurricane Music with his former bandmate Matt Dines, and you and Matt and Dave have all worked together, especially with your new project, Order of the Precious Blood. So you and Dave ended up forming RocketRocketShip together, and that lasted from about 2008, 2009 to about 2016, 17. So how did RocketRocketShip come together at first, when you first put this together in the late 2000s?
RocketRocketShip came together because, well, as I said before, me and Dave were playing in a high school band together, sort of thing, and we were both at a point. Dave is a year younger than me, which now doesn't matter, but back then, when you're dealing with like getting in and out of high school and stuff like that, it's kind of it depends, So it was at a point where I had finished my 2-year program in Stephenville, which was for music, and Dave was at a point where he could start taking his university classes in St. John's. So both of us wanted to play music, and both of us knew that the only place on the island that you could really chase after that was St. John's.
Oh yeah.
So we knew instinctively that, like, when September comes, we're going to St. John's and we're going to pursue music. We're going. We'll do. Dave was doing university and stuff, and I had a job, and we both had jobs and whatever. But that was the point of coming to St. John's. Is this is why we're here?
You want to chase that music dream.
Play music, right? And during that time, I was writing a lot of really simple songs. The stuff that me and Dave had written growing up was, rudimentary punk stuff, that type of thing. But as I got older, I started to kind of play around with more pop ideas and pop melodies and chord structures and stuff like that. And all these songs started happening. And I mean, it was still funneled through punk rock because that's what I listened to, you know what I mean? But there was a lot of those songs came about during the last year, particularly of college for me because I had spent a lot of time alone because I was in Stephenville and Dave was in Corner Brook, and there was this whole situation going on with me in Stephenville, and there was just a lot of lonely times going on, and so it was just like a lot of me sitting in a room with a guitar and reruns on TV, and I'm like, what am I gonna do tonight to entertain myself? I'm gonna just write a silly song to make myself laugh, and a lot of those songs ended up becoming like the first Rocket Rocket Ship songs.
That's wonderful.
And so when I moved home that spring after school was over, me and Dave kind of set up this really, really rudimentary studio in my parents' basement, and we just recorded demos all summer. I think we recorded 30-something songs that summer. We picked the best ones, and we just kind of threw it on a little DIY CD, and that's what we were coming to St. John's with. And we had also reached out to people on this old forum called Blue Cafe that used to exist. It was just, a general kind of online forum that was for, I would guess, the youth. I would say it's more centered towards the youth in St. John's. It's kind of having a little bit of a comeback, but it was gone away for a little while. We had reached out to some places there for band members that might be in town, and we had hit on some, and some came and joined our band, surprisingly, and you know what I mean, sight unseen. We'd sent them demos, and somehow it worked. Somehow me and him moved from this really, really small place into, at the time, what we considered, a big city, a big place, and found people that wanted to play in our band, and we were like, wow, that's wild. We can move out here and play in a band, and we can start rehearsing like almost immediately, and we did.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, we moved out here, and we started jamming almost right away, and then we started playing shows, and I think the first show that we played when we moved here, me and Dave moved here in September, and then I think the first show we played was October, and then we were playing like crazy.
Yeah, so that'd be in like 2009, right?
Yes, 2009, yeah.
Yeah, and I think we underestimate how huge St. John's actually is sometimes, just for the fact that, like, once you leave St. John's and go to, like, a small town, because my guests last week were Ragged. They all grew up in small towns themselves. Mark Bannon grew up in St. Bride's, and then Aaron Collis in Appleton. And then they moved here to St. John's to, pursue that music dream, because you look at the venues that we have here. I mean, you got the Rock House, the Ship. You got the new Majestic Theater that just opened. You also got other places like the Battery Cafe, Bannerman Brewery. Like, take your pick.
Yeah,
but once you go to like outside the Isthmus and even like down to Southern Shore, there's not really much to choose from. But when you go to St. John's, there's a lot to choose from.
Yeah, and especially playing like the music that we were playing. It's different. I'm not going to say that any musician has a leg up in Newfoundland, because we're all fighting the same sort of battles.
Yeah, you're all in this together.
Yeah, we're all in this together for sure. But like for people playing types of music that are a little more modern, let's say, maybe a little more rough around the edges as well. Let's say, it can be a tough market to get into these small places, which there's not a lot of youth to play to, and there, and so there's some people that can go to, they can start out in a smaller place and kind of grow from there. But there's other people, I think, that have to move to a bigger place where there's more different types of people, where those different types of people will be able to connect with your music, where essentially where there's more of an audience for
exactly.
it, yeah. And, it's not, I agree that there's not a ton of places to play outside of St. John's, but that
has changed. That has changed. You started.
That has changed 100%. Yeah, and a lot in the past little while. There is being more of a focus nowadays on like a lot of music just spreading into the smaller communities, which is great. Which is how you get audiences in the smaller communities.
Yeah.
And stuff. So.
And just mentioning some of these venues too, you look at the Winterton's Trinity Hall, Silly Cove Records, and Greg Wells out there.
Yeah.
You look at the reopened Garrick Theater in Bonavista. Vista.
Right.
You got old house shows by Jordan Harnum and Joel Sunshine out in Twillingate. Yeah. And then you also got 62 Broadway that Nigel Jenkinson crowd at Laughing Heart opened up in Corner Brook.
Yeah.
But it's really showing that, like, I think things now are moving to, like, okay, if you really want to make music, you don't always have to move to St. John's.
Yeah.
You can stay in these locations and then really make something of your career with these venues now that are being accessed now by musicians that are out there. And
totally.
Especially people that want to move out there too.
Yeah, totally. You know, and like you just said, some people probably want to move from St. John's, where there is so much music, into a smaller place where they can kind of, you know, play smaller shows, and they don't have to feel so bound to, like, well, gee, you know, I have to play these bigger places in St. John's eventually. You know what I mean? Maybe that's not what some people want. Maybe some people want to play the smaller places, the smaller rooms, and to kind of get those different audiences out for a different experience, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for sure. Now, you the classic lineup of the RocketRocketShip group was yourself and Dave, and then he ended up adding Matt Dines, Kenny Purchase, and then lead singer Tyrone McNeil, and that lasted for a good 5 to 6 years or so.
Yeah.
What do you remember most about those days when RocketRocketShip was really, you know, killing it in the St. John's and Newfoundland and Labrador music scene?
Honestly, just a lot of fun memories. Just a lot of fun memories of just buddying around. You know, when you get to a point playing in a band, it is really easy to get lost in that and get jaded. But what you need to remember is it's really just try to get to the laugh with your buddies. That's what it is. That's what it all is. You know, you're with your buddies and you're all sharing this experience, and those memories are what's going to be dear to you down the road. So that's what I remember the most is palling around with all the boys. You know, it's just getting on real silly and hanging around, and all the laughs we had. You know, of course we remember the shows and the cool stuff that happened and all that, but you know, it's the inside jokes. It's the things that become part of your vocabulary because you've had that shared experience. Mm-hmm. That's what I remember the most about RocketRocketShip, and that's what I cherish the most about RocketRocketShip, is that I got to build that strong relationship with the people that I got to do it with. Mm-hmm. And now, I mean, you know, we're all lifelong friends, I think.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of different shows, a lot of hanging out in a van, a lot of being real tired,
especially when you're touring like night after night after night after night.
Yeah. And when we did this, this tour called Live Different, and it was a different thing because we were going into like schools and stuff like this. So this wasn't your normal like rock and roll type of tour deal. So you were up at 4 a.m. to try to, to drive 3 hours to a place where you've got to spend the first 2 hours of your day setting it up. Setting it all up, setting up this big hauling stuff, and then you're done by like 2:00. But that doesn't matter because you're all so tired.
You need your food. You need your coffee.
Somebody please give me a bowl of cereal. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a lot of those types of memories. A lot of fun had.
For sure. And you guys ended up disbanding in 2017, 2018, and but you guys are still friends to this day. You still work on each other's projects, not under the RocketRocketShip banner, but of course, Dave and Matt have helped you out when it comes to the Order of the Precious Blood. Mm-hmm. Tyrone,
shout out Hurricane Music.
Oh, they're amazing too, and
hell yeah.
Previous guests David Cheers and Matt Dines. Also, Tyrone McNeil has his Texas Red project, which you played drums on, and then Dave and Matt worked on that as well. Kenny worked on the graphics. So you guys are still working together as friends and as co-workers and not so much like bandmates anymore with RocketRocketShip. So how does it feel to, still have that bond even though you're not even playing as a RocketRocketShip anymore?
It's actually a little more freeing, to be honest, because it gives each of us our own individual things that we want to do. There's the other guys might not want to play in the Order of the Precious Blood. You know what I mean? So it gives me the opportunity to do that I want to do, and they can cheer me on not only from the sidelines but be an active team member to help that go further. And for me, the same way. You know what I mean? Anything that Matt and Dave want for me to help them with, I'm there for them 100%. You know what I mean? I'm not like I'm not some Hurricane Music employee or anything like that, but it's just like I'm there for it all. You know what I mean? I want the boys to succeed, not only for their own gain and their own, personal success, but because a high tide rises all ships. You know what I mean? If the Order of the Precious Blood gets something that we can maybe share with others, to help, even if it's Hurricane Music or if it's other bands in the scene, or if it's if we can help in any way, get some more hype going, get some more going. You know what I mean? That's what we want, and that's what we want for everybody. You know what I mean? Because we want everybody to have a great music scene to exist in and play in, and we all got to work together to make it, and that's what we're all doing,
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes to show how much progress has been made on the music sector, and especially with Musicinterview and what they've done over the past half decade right now. Because I believe when Musicinterview collapsed and David was part of that, there were 250 odd members, and now they're over 1,000.
Yep.
And you guys are one of them. So it's great to see how much progress has been made on the music sector in the past 5 or so years. And a lot of that too has to go with David Shears and Matt Dines. I mean, 100%. Just last year, I cannot go anywhere without hearing about Baraka or With Violet or Sean McCann playing at the Gower Street United Church. One of the hottest shows I think I've ever been to, because everyone was literally fanning themselves. You were there too.
Yeah.
You were just fanning yourself, just sort of it's so hot in here, because we had a humid stretch of weather at that time. Yeah. But when we all succeed, the whole sector succeeds.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just about kind of helping your friends, and if you consider everybody that's in the music industry your friend, then you want to help everybody out.
Exactly. Now, of course, you grew up listening to punk music and rock and roll. You did say one of the videos that you watched growing up on Much Music, when they used to play music videos, was Incubus's Pardon Me. Yep. And the punk music scene at that time was filled with Incubus and Green Day, Simple Plan, Sum 41, you name it. There were some big punk groups like Good Charlotte, All Time Low. I'm forgetting a bunch of them right now, but there was so much to choose from. Blink 182 as well. Yep. But what drew you to the heavy metal scene?
Well, I'm not sure what drew me to the heavy metal scene in particular, to be honest. It's just music that I've always connected with, I guess. It's music that I've listened to since I was really young. And being a guitarist as well, it's music that allows me to play guitar in a way that I like to play guitar. You know what I mean? I like all kinds of music. I would consider myself in general a music fan. But I've always found myself writing and making this kind of music. I think partly also because I connect with it in a performance way. So when I'm thinking about making or writing music, there's always a part of me that's considering how I perform it, because I think there's just an innate part of me that's a performer. So I think the way I innately perform is in an intense way, So the music would need to kind of reflect that to a degree. So I think there's an element of that there as well. But it's just kind of music I've always liked. I've always gravitated towards it. Again, as a guitar player, I've always kind of written that type of stuff. Not that I haven't written other things, but it's just I find it fun music to make.
Yeah. So heavy music was really something that you've always liked to play. So like some of the bands I believe you probably would have listened to back then were like the Metallicas and the Slipknots.
That's how it started off.
The Iron Maidens, Judas Priest of the world.
That's how it started off for sure. But it's like with anything. When I started getting into that type of music, I wanted it harder and faster and heavier and crazier and more intense. And I wanted something to grab me and to really take me on a ride. You know what I mean? And like that stuff, when you start listening to that stuff, oftentimes it leads you down that road where you're like, okay, well, now this Metallica kind of stuff isn't really scratching the same itch. So you got to go a little deeper into heavier stuff, and then you get into more and more heavy stuff, and it gets to the point where to me the pipeline always existed between heavy music into just like noise. You know what I mean? And that's a great style of music as well. I listen to some noise music as well, but it's like it gets to the point where it's chaos. You know what I mean? It's controlled chaos. So I mean, one of the big ones for me growing up was a band called The Fall of Troy, and they're just a 3-piece. And the band that I played in when I was growing up with Dave was also a 3-piece, and the music they made was really guitar focused and. But it was very strange at the same time. Like it wasn't guitar playing that I was used to hearing. It was very, very different guitar playing than I was used to hearing. So I wanted to emulate that. So that sort of pipeline of stuff that I'm not used to hearing is something that's come up a lot in my musical journey. I'm always trying to find something that I've never heard before, trying to find a new sound. Trying to think of a new sound, So it's that kind of thing kind of drove me forward in seeking out those types of music, and trying to play and emulate that type of music as well. If I had to nail it down to a couple bands, I would say early on, especially there was The Fall of Troy. AFI for me, Alexis on Fire, early Alexis on Fire. That's when I first heard screaming in music, and I hated it at first. I hated it so much. I didn't get it at all. But there was something about it that I think it was Dallas, and I think it was the guitar playing as well.
Yeah, because it makes the screamo vocals into the melodic sounds of Dallas Green. Yeah. You have a really good combination there, and that's really what made Alexis on Fire successful.
And the guitar playing in Pulmonary Archery, which was the song that I was seeing on Much Music at the time, it sounded again different than the normal guitar playing that I was used to hearing. So I was like, I've got to get this record. So it was 2 weekends in a row. I remember I had bought AFI Sing Sorrow, which was an incredibly important record to me. And then the next weekend I'd bought Alexis on Fire self-titled, which again was an incredibly important record to me. And that those two things kind of pulled me forward into more of those specific types of music. So like, because of Alexis on Fire, I would try to get into a little more like screamo and stuff like that, which would lead me down to like Page 99 and Orchid, stuff like that, or Orchid. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
But it would lead you down that path, and like AFI, you'd look up their influences, and that led me down to like the Misfits and Death by Stereo and some of those like more hardcore bands and stuff like that. So. And each band that you find would lead you to their influences, and then lead you to different stuff and to more deeper stuff than what you were used to. And I will say I do have Much Music to thank for a lot of my musical tastes, because they just watching that channel nonstop, I saw so many of the bands that I grew up to love. Like even that show, the Loud Show and the Punk Show or whatever, that would come on late at night, and they would show like the weird videos and stuff like that. Man, there was so much that I found through that. Like Glassjaw, one of my favorite bands in the world, Glassjaw. That's how I found Glassjaw, was through Much Loud. And you know what I mean? Like without much music, there's so much.
Yeah.
So much music that you wouldn't know.
Like, I feel like that's missing these days. I mean, that's probably been replaced by Stingray, Hit List, and Retro, and Loud, and Country. But not having some like an MTV or a Much Music now, because I believe now all their areas like sitcoms and animated shows and stuff.
Yeah.
And that to me, I think is desperately missed. But I think that's been replaced really though by YouTube.
Yeah, it kind of has. And it's also been kind of replaced by Spotify as well. When you think about like the Spotify or like any streaming service really, their shuffle, you know what I mean? That's kind of what we're trying to replicate, I think.
Yeah.
Because when you used to watch much music, you have no control of what comes on. It's the same as the radio, you know what I mean? They're going to put on what they're going to put on.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's kind of the same thing with the streaming services shuffle, you know what I mean? Where, after they've played your playlist, they'll shuffle in some different songs that you might not have heard of and things like that. I mean, you still ultimately do have control over it all. So it kind of puts the ball in the listener's court, because the listener has to kind of go out of their way to go find different music, you know what I mean? Instead of just kind of flipping on the TV and having it come on. But now, I mean, those options are still there. You still have, like I said, like the Spotify shuffle, and you can still watch those TV channels if you the Much Loud and the Much Retro and that sort of stuff still exists.
Yeah.
You still listen to the radio. Now, the radio is going to play a lot of stuff that's sort of backdated, but you know what I mean? You can still discover different things for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so just like overall, like when I was watching Much Music at the time, I think I've learned like all of my music tastes, like from what I listened to back in 2008 and 2009. Funnily enough, the Alexis on Fire song that really got me into them was Young Cardinals.
Oh, I
just
love
hearing
that song.
I forget the lead singer's name there, who does all the screamo vocals. I forget
George.
And Dallas Green coming in with the Young Cardinals hook. It was just such a great song. And they did this video on a boat where it was like, like the waterfall was coming in right on them. And I think it was Niagara Falls. Yeah,
the Niagara Lady of the Sea or something ship, the one that they marry people on, I think.
Yeah. But like a lot of things of music have changed too.
Yeah.
And that really has to go with, like things like YouTube and Spotify and Apple Music. Now, through the years that you've played in the metal genre so far, you ended up forming what would now become your current band, The Order of the Precious Blood. And it consists of yourself, Ben Chapman Smith, Cameron Legg, Barry O'Keefe, and Adam Hearn. So, Ben, when I had Ben on the Musical Connections podcast about a month or two ago, he told me that he found out about you through a Heavy Newfoundland article that you guys had done. So tell me a little bit about your side of the story and how Order of the Precious Blood came together.
Well, it's kind of a long, twisted tale. The name, The Order of the Precious Blood. To fully explain that, there's, I had made a record under the name Waste Case a number of years ago. I just made it by myself, just kind of see if I could, sort of thing. And one of the song names on that record was Precious Blood. And so when that whole thing was going on, when I had that record out, Heavy Newfoundland wanted to kind of just do a little interview with me, just to kind of talk about it, just to, little piece of content sort of thing. And that's how I got in contact with Ben, because Heavy Newfoundland, the person who runs that is based in Montreal.
Greg Sweetapple.
Yeah. And so he had asked someone who lives in Newfoundland, obviously, to do the interview, and that was Ben. And that's how I'd met Ben. Ben had done the interview with me, and I didn't think too much about it after that until I can't remember how it came up, but we decided that we were going to jam together, me and Ben and Cameron, because they were doing a project called Slowpoke back then. It was kind of like a stoner rock kind of deal. And they wanted me to play drums with them because their drummer at the time was really busy and had a lot of different stuff on the go and couldn't take a lot of time at that point to play drums. So they had asked me to jam with them and learn some songs. And that was, a few weeks sort of thing, and it was going okay. It was going fine, you know what I mean? And as anything with a new band, a new drummer with a bunch of songs you don't know, sort of deal, take it one at a time, sort of
Exactly.
thing. And then it ended up coming down that like their old drummer was coming back, and he was now going to have more time to dedicate to the band, and that was fine. You know what I mean? At that point I'm not sure what I had going on, but I think I had some things going on anyway. So that had kind of come to a pass, but the three of us, it kind of felt like we were on a similar musical wavelength. So we had decided to kind of try to keep jamming. The three of us will get together on Sundays, and we'll just kind of play guitars together and just do a couple demos, write some riffs, just hang out. And with a loose intention of, let's do some music, sort of thing. So we did that for a number of months, and pieces of stuff that I had, pieces of stuff that Cam had and Ben had, all came together, and it ended up being our first EP. So we had written 6-7 songs or so at that point, and we were. I think it was in the summer that we were kind of looking ahead and seeing like what are we gonna do. So we have some songs now, and we have some ideas, and we had made 3 kind of put together demos, and we said who else can we get? And I thought back to when I'd played in that band Waste Case before, when I'd gotten together a band for it very, very briefly. 2 of the people that I had gotten were Barry O'Keefe and Adam Hearn. And 2 excellent people, first of all, wonderful, beautiful people, and second of all, great players. I wanted, we wanted people that kind of got what we were going to go for musically, and would be able to also kind of musically keep up.
Yeah.
Not just like in a playing wise, but like with ideas. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not just ideas too, but not a creative sense too, but a business sense as well.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, it would be on the same page as us in terms of like, do we want to take this seriously and try? You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of bands that definitely try, and you know what I mean, and go for it and all that sort of stuff, and that's awesome. There's also bands that kind of try to take specific steps and try to make it a business. You know what I mean? Right off the bat, and that's kind of what we're doing. Because I learned all these tough lessons when I was playing in RocketRocketShip. You know what I mean? And all the bands before. So you kind of got to make it a business. So the lessons you learn playing in bands before, inform how you would go forward playing in a new band. So we had kind of taken the lessons of like, okay, well, we'll take this very seriously, and we'll have our branding serious, and all of our, our music is serious, and we will come at this in a very serious way, you know what I mean? Because there's something to be said for just playing in bands for fun. That's awesome. I love that. That's perfect. But if you want to make a go for it and really try to get there to the point where you can maybe tour for a little bit out of the year, and maybe you're making enough money that you don't have to work another job, perhaps. You know what I mean? Those are all far and away very lofty goals, of course, in the music business. But in order to get there, you just kind of got to set out on the road and go.
Oh, 100%.
So we all have that kind of mindset, and we're all. I feel like everybody's super mature about who they are and what they want out of music and all that sort of stuff. So when we were looking for people to play with, we wanted, you know, those types of people. So we wanted Barry and Adam, you know, because we knew those people were good. We knew they were good players, and they had their heads screwed on right. You know. So after that, you know, we got the band together, and it I mean, it kind of felt like a melding of two things, you know what I mean? You know, Slowpoke came together, and then
what was the Waste Case?
Waste Case kind of came together, and even though for me, I will say this: Barry and Adam had a band called Release the Hounds that were very popular in the local music scene a number of years ago. They, I think, released one record, and it's fantastic. It's awesome. So that I don't think of Barry and Adam as coming from Waste Case. I think of them as coming from Release the Hounds. So that's kind of how I conceptualize it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then you throw me on top of it, and I don't know.
You got a great combination. You guys got a really good band going together, and I've seen you guys play live. You guys like all mesh very well together. Great rhythm with Ben and Cameron, and Adam and Barry ran out the band as well. You just absolutely ballistic when it comes to your stage presence.
Thank you.
The first EP you ended up releasing was I No Longer Wish for Salvation.
Yeah.
And I remember the marketing tour you went on with that. Yourself and Ben were at the spring record fair at the farmers market. And I remember you coming with these like golden tickets with Order of the Precious Blood just to have people come down to the Rock House and say, hey, if you get this golden ticket, you can get a free entry into our show coming up. That was a whole boatload of fun, I would imagine.
We like connecting with people like that, you know.
Oh, yeah. And that's how I really got first to meet you and Ben. And I've had you guys on the podcast ever since. So, It's all come full circle. Now, I just want to get your thoughts on the whole heavy metal scene in general. When it comes to music from this province, they all go towards traditional folk and contemporary folk because we have really good performers here. But there's a whole other subsection of music that really does not get that much attention. And I'm glad I got this podcast and the Newfound Releases segment to feature music like yours and Smoke Signals and the Altars and Ben Zekman's Spirals of the world to give them an opportunity to, you know, thrive and really just get their foot in the door when it comes to, you know, having people notice them and, you know, get their music played and like eventually have them lead to, you know, tours down the line, which is where you're going to be going on soon and stuff. So, what are your overall thoughts on the Newfoundland and Labrador heavy music scene?
Honestly, it is growing so much. I swear to God, every other day I'm seeing on Instagram or Facebook or somewhere there's a new band forming, and it's awesome. It's so cool. Everybody's kind of getting in the scene and making friends with each other, and well, you know, eventually you're going to get a bunch of musicians in a room together. A couple of them are going to start saying, let's start a band. You know what I mean? Let's start a band. I love this band. Oh, you love this band too. Let's start a band just like it. That sounds like that band. And we'll put our own, you know what I mean? There's so much of that going on. I mean, to me, the heavy music scene kind of spans so far. I mean, there's so much crossover between like actual heavy death metal to hardcore punk, to sort of garage rock type of punk, to anything with a sort of slightly distorted guitar on it. You know what I mean? Or anything that could be considered emo or emo adjacent. You know what I mean? Like that.
Punk.
Those types of things are meshing in together, and that stuff is really cool. And you see people that like play in, they started off playing in hardcore bands that are playing for like softer bands and stuff like that too, which is excellent because it's like we don't have to do that one thing, you know what I mean? We can all just spread out and do any type of music that we want. So the heavy music scene in particular has been growing the last few years, particularly the hardcore punk scene. There's a lot of like power violence bands. There's a lot of just like straight up hardcore punk bands coming up right now. and I find it all so interesting because you know a lot of that stuff has to really do with the raw power and the raw feeling of what they want to play, and it's not contrived in any way. You know, it's well thought out and it's well placed and it's well played. But it's just about the raw feeling, and it's just that like youth energy. I feel I'm 34 years old, so I'm not going to say I'm super old or anything like that. But like I do feel like there is that sort of youth energy going on in the hardcore punk scene, which is super important for it, because it's the young people that really make it. You know, they're the ones playing in the bands.
The elder statesmen.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're the ones playing in the bands. They're the ones, you know, that want to come to the shows and all that sort of stuff. And it's and that having that really strong youth energy just existing in the scene is really important. And then you have, you know, your old folks too, like us, and not that we're that old, you know, but like the Smoke Signals, you know, they've been around for 10 years, you know what I mean? So, you know, you have those bands that are kind of a little more solid-footed into where they've been the last little while, and you know, there's a lot of people that enjoy that as well, you know what I mean, and like seeing the crossover between the younger bands that are playing and the older people that are playing too, you know.
Oh, for sure. And especially I also want to mention the Slime, who ended up taking home the Loud Artist of the Year at this past year's Music and L Awards.
Yes.
Congratulations on that nomination, too, as well.
Thank you.
Just being around those legends, too, you're probably taking some advice from them on how to, you know, like, how do you succeed as a heavy rock band in 2024?
Yeah.
Like, what can you take from how you were successful then to how you're successful now? So it's great to see the heavy scene in Newfoundland and Labrador really thriving.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that Musical Connections can really be a part of, you know, helping that grow. So
me too. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you so much. So on the note of music, you released Cheaper But Will Do, which I featured on the podcast a couple of months ago. And then you also just recently released Black Hole. Any more updates on new music from Precious Blood?
We are in the process of writing a new EP. We've got a few songs ready now. We're going to be taking a new one on the road with us. So if you're listening to this on the road, then we are playing a new song. We're coming for you with a new song. But yeah, we have some great ideas. I don't know if they're great, but they're fun ideas that we're playing around with the last little while, and we're excited to really flesh them out and to take that step into what our sound is going to be like moving forward. Because I find that I think I'm super interested to see what we're going to create and to what exactly our sound will take shape to be.
Oh, for sure.
Know, because it's only the first EP, and you know we just released a couple singles as well, and it's not lost on me that we're still kind of developing. But I'm fascinated to see what we're going to develop into, and I'm excited to play some of that new stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. We're gonna get to one of those new songs, Black Hole, coming up here on Next to Connect. So for people who want to find out what Order of the Precious Blood is going to be up to next, and any updates on new music, where can they go?
Our Instagram is probably the best place. At PreciousBlood709. We also have Facebook at PreciousBlood709. We're on Spotify as well, and all the other, Apple Music and all the other ones, We're on TikTok. We try to keep a little bit up to date with the TikTok, even though we're in our 30s.
We all grew up on Vine.
Yeah. It's it's getting to the point where if you don't pick it up right away,
you'll fall behind.
Yeah, you're starting to fall behind. So now it's a couple years after TikTok is on the go, and I'm just starting to get into TikTok, and I'm like, how do I use this freaking thing? So I would say the best thing is social medias, Precious Blood 709 at Facebook and Instagram and YouTube as well. We have our lyric videos and everything all up on YouTube. We have our tour dates and everything there. We're on the way to you coming. coming for you.
And if you haven't seen these guys play, I don't know what's wrong with you. These guys are so electrifying to watch. Paul Brake, lead singer of Order of the Precious Blood, thank you so much for joining me on the Musical Connections podcast. You have a wonderful day, and congratulations to you and the rest of the group on your success now and what's to come ahead.
Oh, thanks so much, man. We're just gonna keep plugging away, you know. We have we're popping out a little tour there for the up to the ECMAs. That'll be fun. Hitting a few dates up along the East Coast, Halifax, Miramichi, Moncton, Glace Bay before we get to Charlottetown for the ECMAs, which is going to be an excellent time. Other than that, we're writing a new EP right now, which we're hoping will be out by the end of the year. No promises, but other than that, hopefully we'll see you at a show soon. Yeah,
for sure. Paul, thanks so much again, and best of luck, and I'll see you up in Charlottetown in May.
See you there, friend.